All right, awesome. Welcome to this month's training. We are excited to have you here. My name's Will. My company's called Window Treatment Marketing Pros. This month, we're talking all about building a content and social media machine. So a lot of things you can do related to both of these to really start getting more eyeballs on your brand. Which is always a good thing, right? So what we're going to talk about today is a couple different things. Why creating content is so important for your business's online health. The 4 pieces to the content creation formula that we've put together. What we consider good content, or what Google considers good content, where you can find that content, how to write compelling headlines that lead to action from your readers. So the headline is the big promise for the entire rest of that article. So it needs to be written well. How to leverage social media to get more traction from the content maybe that you're already creating. And then we're going to talk about some tools that'll help you with your social media efforts as well. Real quick about my business. We are Window Treatment Marketing Pros. We've won several awards, top rated SEO agency. We actually won it in 2022 from SEO Blog as well. So I need to add that logo in here. Veteran owned business. We are Google partners. And I do have a book out called Triple Your Window Treatment and Awning Leads. If you don't have a copy of this book, I'll tell you how to get a copy of this at the end of today's presentation. So one thing I do like to do is make sure to answer questions. So in the chat area in Zoom here, we do have an area where you can actually put in different questions that you might have. And I want to make sure I get everybody's questions answered in case there's anything that I wasn't clear about. Just want to make sure that we get those answered as it should be. So just plug those into the chat there, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. This is all part of what we call our digital dominance method. In this case, number 7, social media would be relevant. And then really, we could call this a couple different things. We could call it number 1, part of the website. So building content on your actual website. We could also use number 4 around organic SEO. So writing content, creating things that Google loves and wants to rank organically. So kind of hitting a couple different boxes here all at once today, talking about the content and the social media side of things. So let's start off with content. Why is content so important to an online strategy? And really, it's probably the most important thing that you can do when it comes to getting started with getting a new site going, or updating your site, or trying to get Google's attention. It really just builds your credibility. It shows that you know what you're talking about. When somebody searches something and your article comes up, or your piece of content comes up, or even your video, something like that, they immediately trust you. They immediately think, well, this is the subject matter expert on this particular topic. So it builds your credibility right out of the gate, which is awesome, of course. And then, of course, it also builds other things, such as your email list. You can build an email list out of this. So as you're building content and you're able to share that content out to people, great thing about that is it keeps you kind of top of mind, right? A lot of times people might be just researching something and not really ready to purchase, but they might be looking up different ideas on window treatments for bay windows or something, right? So they may just be doing some research around that on something that they're hoping to implement later on this year. If you've got some sort of a piece of content out there that answers that question and then gets them onto your email list, gets them to subscribe to your newsletter, things of that sort, that's a great way to stay top of mind when you do share, send out a newsletter or something like that. That you are right at the top of their list, and when it comes to who can do this thing once they're finally ready. Another thing, obviously, it does is attracts attention. The more content you put out there, the more you're going to attract, particularly Google's attention. And as you attract Google's attention, they're going to share that with more people, and that gets you higher rankings, gets you in front of more eyeballs as time goes on as well. So lots of things that content can do. And I've shared in past sessions, especially around SEO, when we talk about different things that you could do to get started. Really, the first thing that you could do is to start building content for your site. It will move the needle, and it is that important that if you're on a very limited budget, it should be one of the first things that you start to do is say, okay, how can I start to create some sort of content that will help people and show that we're the experts? So, all right, enough about that. So this is what we call our content creation formula. And there's 4 pieces to this, and I'm going to go through each of these pieces. So on date, writer will publish a post using type about category. So we're going to go through what each of these mean, and then you can plug this formula in at any time and start to have a great content strategy to get things done. So, all right, we're going to start at the end with category. So the first thing to do is to define your categories. Now, in most cases, categories are going to be products or services, right? In the window treatment and awning world, the top things that you're going to be creating content around are the different products that you have, the different ways to implement those products, and any services that you may have along the way, such as repair, things of that sort, if you do those kinds of things. So for the most part, in our industry, the piece of category, or what are you going to write about, is going to be related to some sort of product. So here's a couple examples. Let me go back. So this is Creative Windows. Obviously, you can see they've got a couple different products on their homepage. So these are obvious choices of things that they could write about, right? Draperies, roller shades, shutters, and they're going to put their best products, forward. They're going to write the most about those, and also the ones that are probably higher margin, right? If you can create content around items that are higher margin, that makes more sense. So here's another example, Shading Texas. This is an awning company in, I think they're in Austin, Texas. This is a great example of, I just clicked on their products section, and here are the things that they do: patio shades, patio screens, enclosures, retractables, and then motorization, of course, right? Those are the big things. So it makes sense that for the most part, that's the content that they're going to create things around. So, that's another good example here. All right. So category, pretty straightforward, right? So for you, make sure to figure out what your categories are. If there's anything special that you do, or maybe a little bit different, such as repair or drapery cleaning, maybe if you have like the machinery that does that, and you service restaurants or something, that might be a special category beyond just the typical blind shades, retractable awnings, those sorts of things that kind of everybody does. So category, pretty easy and straightforward one to figure out. I do have a question here. Darla said, if we did not get permission to send newsletter emails historically, how do we add previous clients to a newscast without being reported as in violation if using MailChimp? Okay. Newsletter. So Darla is asking about, she's got a list of past clients. She wants to add those to the newsletter. And then how do you not get in trouble for spamming them, basically? You could send them an email and say, hey, do you want us to send further emails? And that's probably the best way to go about it. So what we typically do is we build something called a reactivation campaign. And that reactivation campaign is usually 2 emails that says, hey, we want to continue to send you stuff. If you do not want this stuff, click here to unsubscribe. Give them that option to unsubscribe, and then probably send a very similar message, let's say 7 days later. Hey, just want to let you know, we're going to be sending out a lot more newsletters here. And if you do not want to receive these, please click here to unsubscribe, right? In most cases, as in 99% of the cases, they're just going to delete it. They're going to ignore it. They're going to be like, yeah, sure, send me stuff. If they unsubscribe, fine. That's actually a good thing, that you're not wasting email to people that aren't interested. So probably the easiest way to do it is just send out a reactivation campaign. And after you send them a couple messages, put them into your newsletter rotation. And always on your newsletter, obviously have some sort of an unsubscribe button on there, and just give them every opportunity to simply unsubscribe to it. In most cases, if it's a list of past customers, they're just going to assume that they opted in, and you are able to reach out to them. They gave you their email address in the first place. So that's kind of an opt-in right off the bat when they give that to you. So best bet is just to send out a couple quick emails saying, hey, if you're not interested, click here, that kind of thing. All right. So number two, no problem, Darla. Number one is all around category. Pretty easy to figure that one out. You guys know what you do and what you sell. So let's talk about content type. So this is where it gets a little bit more particular. And in reality, there are only 4 types of content that you can create online. Text is the most obvious, right? When we think of writing a blog, this is the most common and one of the best, I would say. When the idea with content specifically around blogs is every time Google comes back to index your website, it's getting bigger and bigger. There's more content. There's more pieces of things for them to digest. Some people will go in and think, well, I just have to, switch up my homepage every 2 or 3 months, and that's enough to keep Google on their toes. Well, it's really not. It's if it's the same amount of pages, they're just going to consider your site as stale. So as time goes on, you want them to discover new pieces of content all the time. So the easiest way to do that, obviously, is a blog. The other thing I'll say about blogs is, in a lot of cases, we do not write blogs for humans. We write blogs for Google. So a little bit different kind of mindset or twist in the strategy here. Now, listen, if somebody comes and reads The Art of Blending Decorating Styles Without Clashing, if somebody reads that, that's fine and fantastic. And maybe we'll get a client, an appointment out of it. But in reality, content such as this is created really to prop up some sort of main page on your site, most likely some sort of a product page. Or just a interior design page or something like that. So text is the most common type of content that people create, but probably not the most powerful. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So another thing you can do is just create images, especially if you like sharing things on Pinterest and, of course, Instagram. When it comes to that, they're all image-based, right? So creating content for those networks has to be an image formula or foundation. So images is another great way to create content. The bad thing about images is really that Google can't see what an image is. They just know that this is an image, and you can put kind of words in behind it saying this is an image of a blue drapery, with faux wood shutters or something. I don't know. So you can kind of tell Google what the picture is, but that doesn't mean Google has to trust that what you told them that picture was is really what it is. So, but images is another great way to create content. And when we get to the social media side, it's a great way to share things. Projects that you've done, before and afters are always really, really popular as well. And of course, galleries of pictures or projects that you've done in the past. Lots of different ways to go about that. So next is video. So video is probably the most powerful right now, the most powerful way to create content. Building video around your products, introduction to your products, examples of how-tos with your products. Those are all fantastic. A tour of your retail location, if you have one, is a great one. any kind of content that is that people can digest from video is just really, really big right now. So definitely worth working on. The other really cool thing about video is, we'll see in a minute, you can repurpose it. So there's also something called Reels, which are really popular right now. And Reels are, again, on the social media side, these shorter videos of things that you're doing, such as showing off your automations or your motorization, showing off the awning coming down or the LED lights coming on, those kinds of things. People love this, and Reels are really gaining a lot of attention and a lot of traction on the social media side as well. So let's see. Georgie said, should the video be only on your website or other places too? Great question. So video should be as many places as you can put it. By default, I would say put it on YouTube and have a YouTube channel. If you're interested in doing content on a regular basis, definitely start putting it out on YouTube. And the reason for that is Google loves it when you use their tools, and we know Google owns YouTube. So put it out on there first. Obviously, if it is something that is fairly short in time, you can share it on some of the different Reels like Instagram, Facebook, some of these other networks as well. And then if you have it on YouTube, you can then embed that video onto your website. So that's the best way to kind of take care of all the different platforms at once. I would start with YouTube first of all, just because they love content, and they're the behemoth when it comes to all of this stuff. So how long should a video be? So it depends on what kind of content you're writing about. So if you're doing a tour of your location, it could end up being 20 minutes. And that's fine. Then what you could do is slice that up into smaller pieces that you can then disseminate out to some of the different social media platforms. So by default, I think there is a limit for the Reels, and they keep changing that. It gets bigger and bigger. I'll also share a link later on to the different image sizes that you can use, things like that. So as far as how long a video should be, it should be as long as you want to make it. And then if there's ways to make it shorter or chop it into little pieces that you can put on other platforms, it's really the best way to kind of approach that. So here's a great one, super simple, but kind of shows off the draperies there. So, all right. One thing I mentioned earlier, one really cool thing you can do with video is you can repurpose it. You can turn it into other things, obviously put it out on YouTube, but then you could actually transcribe that video and turn that into text, right? You could take screenshots from that video, turn that into an image, and you could even pull the audio out of that video and use it in like a podcast or something, which is another great way to go about it. So the coolest thing about video is that you can repurpose it in multiple ways. And a lot of times that's what we do, even for our own business, is we'll start with a video, create a video, and then from there, we can chop it up, we can pull out the content, we can do a lot of different things from it. So a great way to kind of repurpose, do one thing and turn it into 3 or 4, which is always really nice. Now, the only thing here is obviously if you enjoy being on video, right? If you don't enjoy being on video, it makes it a little tougher. You can still create video. It's just you have to obviously use other ways of getting it done. So Rose said, do you recommend a video editor? I don't know the answer to this, a little bit outside of my pay grade, Rose. We use Adobe Premiere, but we have the entire Adobe suite with Photoshop and Premiere and all of the tools, because that's, something we need for our business. For you guys, you could probably get away with some of the easier stuff. I don't have an iPhone, but I think is it called iMovie or something on the iPhone? I mean, there's YouTube Studio. YouTube has their own app that you can actually download specifically for editing content. So there are plenty of those kinds of tools out there. I don't know one of the kind of the cheaper ones that we use Adobe on our end, but some of these movie maker type things are easy. Liz says CapCut is something that you can use, especially for the shorter videos. There you go. We also use a tool called ClipScribe. But that is more of a tool for creating the captions on a video. Sometimes you'll see videos on Facebook, especially that has the captions below it. A lot of times those are using some sort of a tool such as ClipScribe, for example. Georgie says, does a video slow down the loading on a mobile app of your website? So no, if you put the video on YouTube and then embed the YouTube video on your site and even on the mobile version, then there is no slowing down of speed for your website, because it's not loading that video until you hit play. And at that point, then it starts to buffer that video in. So it's not loading that full video into your website, which some web developers do, kind of like stick a video on a website and it loads that entire thing, which could be, it could be 500 megabytes of video that you're trying to load. And of course, that's really going to slow down a page. So the way to do it is put it up on something like YouTube or Vimeo, or one of those kinds of services. I would say YouTube is the best, and then embed that video on your website. All right. The other one I did mention earlier was audio. Again, pulling out, creating a video and then pulling out the audio, or just creating audio. If you're not excited about being on video, you could create audio. Here's a podcast called So Much More Podcasts, and it is all about, obviously, sewing related stuff. So fantastic idea. What a great way to create content. And again, this audio could actually be transcribed and turned into a blog post. So you can kind of double up on audio, just not as much as you can with video, because you can kind of turn that into 4 different things. But audio is a great way to also kind of create content around your site or around your business, as you will. All right. So that is all around the type of content that you're going to create. Now we're going to start talking about writers. So where can we find somebody to help us create this content? And maybe instead of the word writer there, I should have content creator, right? So let's see. Is there an app to transcribe audio to text? Yes, there's a lot of them out there. Otter.ai, so otter just like the animal, otter.ai. You can upload audio, you can upload video, and they will transcribe that. And there are other tools, rev.com. It is a paid version, but it does the same thing. And I think it has humans that then read through it and make sure that it makes sense. Otter, I think, is free, and then they do have a paid version of that as well. So, and there are a lot of other apps out there. Those are probably 2 of the best reference. Otter.ai. All right. So creating content, the best person to create content is you, right? You are the business owner. You know the industry. You know the most probably in your business about a lot of things. So creating, you are the top choice here, right? Now, in a lot of cases, we're busy kind of like, running our business, and we probably don't have a ton of time to create content. I get it. So if you can't create content on your own, or you just don't have time, or you're just focused on really running the business, then it comes down to, okay, how am I going to get content from somewhere or someone? When it comes to that, there really are 2 different forms of currency. The first is exposure. So you could trade getting some content in exchange for some sort of exposure from that person, or obviously money. You can just trade money, right? People will definitely create content for money. There are some sites out here where you can start to look around. Okay, where can we put some of our content, or where can we get ideas for content, right? So here's House Beautiful, 34 window treatment ideas that'll dramatically improve your view. This is a great article related to the industry, right? So you can go out here and say, okay, this person, Caroline Picard and Lauren Smith, obviously write content about something related to our industry. Maybe I'll reach out to them and see if they could create content for us, right? So that is an easy way to find it. Just start looking for blogs that other people are writing that are not obviously competitor sites, but sites like this. House Beautiful is a great example that might be an easy way to find content. Georgie says, Kate the Socialite has great blog posts for window treatment providers. It can be personalized for your own business. There you go. That's a great way to get something started too, if you need that content quick. Another way to do it is just Google industry blogger. So in this case, window treatment blogger, or awning blogger, or installation blogger, those kinds of things. And people who have identified themselves as bloggers for this particular industry will show up in the results. So there's an easy way to find people. Just find people that have kind of self-identified as bloggers for this industry. Another thing you could do is build a Write For Us page, and then just say, hey, do you want to write for us? This obviously not a window treatment example, but just a little side project that I have. But it's a great way to get people that are interested in whatever this thing is to create content for you, right? Write For Us page. And then a lot of people will do searches for Write For Us related phrases. So a couple different ways to do it. One, before I get over to paying for content, you could also do a similar search on social media, for instance, on Twitter, and see who has self-identified themselves in their bio as a window treatment blogger or an awning industry blogger, something like that. So you could also use some of the social media tools to search for people who have called themselves something along those lines. Content creator might be another phrase. You could even go so far as to say influencer, although if they're calling themselves an influencer, that means they might want more money, and they might not, you might not get the value as much. Maybe not. All right, so let's talk about what to pay for content. If you find somebody that you want, what are you willing to pay them? So one tool that we've used in the past is jobs.problogger. And this is a site where people go and they post, hey, I need a writer to write me an article for this, right? And so you could cruise through here and see what other people are offering and what other people are willing to pay to give you a great idea of what you could also offer, or what the going rate kind of is. We use a service a lot of times called SEO Content Hero, and this is all human written content. So they've got a couple different packages. They've got the $8 for, so basically 8 cents a word is how we would look at that. And then their elite package is 12 cents a word. On average, you're going to pay in that range, 8 to 12 cents a word for content. So something to keep in mind: if you want 1,000-word article, then you're going to pay between $80 and $100, $120 for that piece of content. So a good way to kind of understand from the content side what you might have to pay. These guys are great. We use them for some of our content, and it's all human written content, which is a thing now, right? That we have to actually make sure that is the case. So, all right. So the final piece of the formula is to kind of build a schedule. When are we going to do this? So we need a foundation, or we need to start figuring out some dates. Obviously, the easiest way to do this is to build some sort of a content calendar. We want to publish this article on this time and this article on this time, and start kind of thinking that out and just create, a Google Calendar. Google Calendars are free to set up. You could create a calendar specifically for content that's going to be sent out both onto the website and onto the different social media networks as well. You should decide on some sort of publishing schedule. And the reason that I put this in here is I hope you get excited to start creating content. I really do. The big thing here is that sometimes people will say, all right, I'm going to start creating content and I'm going to put out an article every week. And they do. And they do that for maybe, a month or two, something like that. And then as time goes on, as I said, you're busy running a business. The content might kind of start weighing off and off. So it's better to kind of shoot low than shoot high, if that makes sense. So why not start out with saying, I'm going to do 2 pieces a month. And if you create 4, great, then you're a month ahead, right? That is a great way to do it. And if you're very, very consistent, what can happen is Google can actually learn when you're going to create new content. So as you create content, I'm talking about a blog in this case. If you create a blog and you submit it every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., right? As time goes on, Google's going to figure out, they're always publishing Tuesdays, somewhere between 6 and 7. And they'll start to know when to index your site. I've had clients who have posted content, and within about 14 to 18 minutes, that content was indexed in Google because Google knew the schedule. It was always the same. It was always the same date, same time kind of thing. So come up with a schedule that makes sense, and come up with a schedule that's not overwhelming to you, right? So if you think you can do 4 a month, start out with 2 and just consistently do 2 a month. And if you find yourself consistently creating 4, then bump it up to 3, right? Or bump it up to 4. It's better to teach Google long-term what it is versus doing a whole bunch of stuff and then wearing yourself out and then doing nothing, or, going from 4 to 1, something like that. So come up with a schedule that makes sense, that's not too crazy for you. Georgie had a question. Can the blog be on our website? Yes, absolutely. The blog should be on your website. So as time goes on, as I mentioned earlier, Google is consistently finding that your site is getting bigger and bigger and has more content and is answering more questions and things of that sort. Where else would it be published? So you could, after you publish a blog on your site, you definitely want to share it, right? You want to share it to your social media networks, to your Google business profile, to your Facebook page, to your LinkedIn page, if you have one, things of that sort. So you would create the content, in this case, a blog, put it on your site, and then start to kind of disseminate it out from there, publishing it elsewhere. Even in the newsletter I mentioned earlier, a lot of times people will create, or just share the first paragraph of a piece of content with a read more button, with the idea that you're trying to get them to come back to your website to then digest that full piece of content. So ultimately it should be on your site, and then from there, broadcast out to other networks. Let me go back to that. Our team did put together a calendar specifically for holidays, and not just the regular holidays, but they've gone in and found a bunch of other really cool holidays that are out there that you could create content around. And you can download that for free. Just grab this QR code. And if you're not able to get the QR code, I will send out an email with all of the things I'm sharing today for you. So you'll be able to click the links to go back and grab these free items. So this is a holiday schedule. It's a PDF, and that'll take you right to that particular thing. All right, so now we've got our formula figured out. We know what we need to write. We know when we're going to do it. Now, what in the world are we going to write about? Right? This is a problem. For a little bit, we'll probably have some good ideas, but after a short time, you might kind of start to run out of ideas. So here are some other ways that you could potentially create content. How-tos and product reviews are fantastic for video. We had a client that did the top down, bottom up, just like a demo, and it's just him videotaping himself talking about it and, finagling with it, that kind of stuff. And it's fantastic. It really explains what that product is. Obviously some sort of a list, top 7 things you should do before getting window treatments in your new home. Something like that would be good. Those are also called listicles or list articles. Podcast interviews, great way to create content. Again, it comes back to the type of content that you really want to create. I think that's a good place to start, and then see which of these kind of fit in to that particular thing, right? A comic is not going to do well on video, right? I mean, I guess it could if you animated it and turned it into like a cartoon or something, but I don't know how well that would do. But anyway, here are some different kind of little content ideas of things that you could create. Another thing you could do is just listen to your customers. Are there customers that are asking the same questions over and over? You keep hearing the same thing. If you keep hearing the same thing, let's say you have the same question asked 3 times every week. Why not create a piece of content that answers that question on your website? Because if 3 people ask that question, there's probably 30 or 300 people that are thinking it. They're not talking to you about it, right? So if it starts to be something really common, we probably should just put a piece of content out about this and answer this question. And you'd be surprised how much traffic that could get for your business. So definitely listen to your customers and see what kind of things they're asking about, talking about, those kinds of things. And then of course you could do the same on social media. There are plenty of search options out there on all of the networks where you could just type in different phrases and see what are people talking about. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on Twitter. Twitter actually, even though not a ton of value as far as posting on Twitter for a business like to get leads and things, it is a fantastic place to listen to what people are talking about. So that is another, I think it's search.twitter.com, or it used to be. But anyway, go out there, just type in window treatments or awnings or something like that and see what people are talking about, see what people are asking, see what people are complaining about, right? Oh, our LED lights on our awning stopped working after 2 weeks. Those kinds of things are ways that you can then create content for your own site, even if they're not in your geographic area. I mean, that probably actually makes it better. So. All right, one of my favorite tools that has been around a long time is Google Alerts. Google.com/alerts is where you would find this. And the really cool thing about Google Alerts is you can set this up that you basically just tell Google, hey, every time somebody mentions or publishes a new piece of content with this phrase, let me know. Let me know about that. Now, you have to be a little careful, because if you just put in here window treatments, you would get Google alerts all day long, and it would just fill up your email address or fill up your inbox. Phil says, sorry, I have to go. Thank you, Phil. We will have a replay available afterwards as well. So thank you for jumping on. So, all right, Google Alerts, absolutely fantastic way to do it. One thing I would recommend is putting words in quotes. So as you see here in this example, Google Guide, by putting them in quotes, then it only will send you alerts when that exact phrase is used. So if you just put in search terms, if you just put window treatments, then they would send you an alert every time those 2 words were used on an article, even if they weren't next to each other, right? Even if it was about 2 totally different things. So by putting them in quotes, at least then you're only getting alerts or emails around people using the word window treatments. That might still be pretty much. Now over here under how often, it does say as it happens. You can also drop that down to say, just once a day, send me a digest, a list of all the links of the new pieces of content that were created with this phrase. But if you start to get a little bit more specific about specific products, you'll get less alerts, but the content might start to get a little better, right? Zebra shades or something like that might get you really good. The other thing, I know Darla's on here, so things around cords on blinds and things like that, right? That's a big deal right now and going to be a bigger deal here in a couple months. So having content, a Google alert around things like that could be really good. Also, searching on Twitter for how people are talking about cords on their blinds, things like that, could be a great way to get different ideas for content. You could also recycle old stuff. This is a really old article I wrote, but still very, very relevant about a client that we had a long time ago, probably a good 12, 15 years ago at this point, that had created some content. And then about 2 or 3 years later, they went and revamped that content, updated it, added to it. So not replaced it, but added to it, put in more information, newer information. And that blog had a second life, and it was far beyond the first time it was created. So if you have older content on your site that is good and still relevant, that you could go back and revisit and then update, that is a fantastic strategy to really increase your overall visibility for a specific piece of content. So Georgie said, our business is using AI to write blogs. So they are. There are a lot of people right now using AI, and we'll actually talk about AI here in a little bit. But yes, people are doing it. Is it recommended? Probably not. There are plenty of tools out there that can recognize AI content, and even Google says they can recognize it to a fair degree. And I did see that Google actually released their own version of an AI tool yesterday. I think it was called Bard. So anyway, there are a lot of people creating content from AI. I don't know that it's going to be good content. And as you saw earlier when I was talking about pricing, guys like SEO Content Hero, they only do human written content, and there's definitely an advantage to that. So having that in place, definitely a smart thing. So, all right, next is Answer the Public. So I wanted to bring this up and just show you guys. This is one of these tools that's easier just to show you than it is to explain, I think. So, all right, let me get into the questions here and make sure that I have everything. All right, Darla, I will speak to you afterwards about that. Rose said, will you cover how to get the blog on our sites? We don't have a blog tab. Rose, you can just reach out to us and we can help you with that. So the one thing with blogs, especially early on when you're just getting started, I would not put the word blog or like a link to your blog in the top navigation of your site, especially if there's only a couple there. And again, you have to remember, in most cases, we're creating content for the search engines, not necessarily for humans, right? So link it in the footer, something like that, so Google can still stumble across it and find it. But realize that in most cases, it's not something that you're going to want to promote or want people to spend time on your site. Hopefully that makes sense. Darla also said, will Google ding us for using their AI? Yeah, that's a good question. For using their own AI tool, are they going to ding you? Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to that. The support team did put something in there saying Google says they won't, but they do penalize content that's just created for no reason at all. So you kind of have to be careful with the AI side of things. People could really get into it and just create all their content with AI and throw it up there. And I have a friend, an agency owner, who was doing that for some of his clients, and they got hit pretty bad. So you got to be careful. We wouldn't want to put our clients in that situation. So So you just have to be careful with the AI stuff. I don't think it's bad. It's just not the best, I guess is a way to say it. All right, back to answer the public. So the cool thing here is you can just put in a phrase. So I'll put in, let's do Roman shades. And we're going to say United States and English. I'm going to do a search here. So what this tool does is it kind of scours the net and sees what people are talking about. So similar to me talking about going onto Twitter and doing a search for what people are talking about, this tool does a lot of that as well. So in this case, I put in Roman shades, and now what it's doing is it's looking up what kind of questions are people using with Roman shades as part of it. So here we go. If I don't go any further than this today, you guys have enough blog posts to write for, the next 3 months at least, right? How to make Roman shades, how to make Roman shades without cords. Can Roman shades be longer than the window? There's a great one, right? Can Roman shades be cut to fit? Can they be shortened? Why window shades open during land? Oh, that's about an airplane. Why are they called Roman shades, right? So the way this tool works is you can see up here, it says can, who, where, will. So that's kind of how it parses these out into different things. And then there is obviously an upgrade. If you want to actually pay for this tool, it'll give you a lot more words, but this is a great way to just get started with blog ideas. So that's questions. Then we've got prepositions, right? So people can, people that used different words like without, Roman shades without valance, Roman shades without strings, Roman blinds without rods. So you can see different prepositions that are used. Here's near. So this would be obviously the local SEO type stuff. Window shades near me, Roman blinds near me, Roman shades with drapes, Roman shades with cords. So now we're looking at with. So comparisons, Roman shades or roller shades, Roman shades or cellular shades. Are Roman shades in style? Let's see, Roman shades or drapes. So there's tons of ideas, Roman shades and curtains together. So if you can't come up with, some good blog posts from this, you're crazy. And then what it does is it just alphabetizes a lot of the same stuff we saw above, just so you can see kind of what other people could be typing in. Roman shades kitchen, right? You could write an entire article probably about that. Roman shades motorized, Roman shades patterns. So there are a ton of ideas just on this one tool, even without paying. I'm not paying for any of this, but pretty cool way to get a ton of blog ideas. So, all right, let me switch back over here. So answerthepublic.com is where that's at. Pretty awesome. AI, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's kind of starting to, it's coming on everybody's radar. I did pull up ChatGPT here and just wanted to give you guys a quick example of this. It may have kicked me out because I logged in earlier, but who has a good idea for a potential blog post? So what's something that you want to write about and you're not really sure what specifics you could write about related to that? Put it into the chat. I'd love to see kind of what you guys are talking about here. All right, cordless window coverings. All right, so ideas for blog posts about cordless window coverings. Oh, yeah, it might have kicked me out. That's what I was afraid of. Let's see if I can get it to work here. All right, sorry. Let me try this. I might just have to refresh. That's okay. We'll get back in. There we go. All right, ideas for blog posts about cordless window coverings. So I just plugged that into ChatGPT, which is the one everybody's talking about, right? There are a lot of these different services out there. This is the one that probably most people know about, which is ChatGPT. As I said, Bing is using, I think Bing's using ChatGPT now, and Google just came out with their own version called Bard, which I think you can sign up for. So you can see I'm not typing. This is the AI tool creating this list for us. And then you could see it gives us a little bit more information about not just the title, but things that you could talk about in this particular blog post. So choosing the right cordless window coverings for your space. So, and it's cool. I mean, it's a little slow, but that might just be the amount of people using it. But gives you great ideas on ways to start to create content around a specific thing. Now, you can also have a conversation with the chat. So you can take one of these and say, hey, give me more ideas specifically about your first one there, or something like that. And it will then spit out, more things related to that. Now, some of these, in this case, you can see some of these might not be good for a window treatment company. DIY cordless window coverings, how to make your own. Probably not a good thing to post on a website from a company who's selling them, right? DIY stuff, probably not the best kind of stuff to post. So obviously ChatGPT doesn't know that. They're just creating content from the input that I gave it, but does give you some really cool ideas of ways to use this particular tool. So ChatGPT is through openai.com. You can see that at the top there. Chat.openai.com is where you would go. You do have to sign up for an account, but there are other tools out there that are also doing very similar things to this. We use one called Jasper a lot that lets us do something very similar. It has an AI built into it, but it's a really easy way for us to come up with ideas around specific topics. So anyway, hope you guys got some good ideas there. Linda says she has to go. Thanks for jumping on, Linda. Appreciate it. Darla said, how do you ask AI to expand on one of the topics? So you would just, it's just like having a conversation. Tell me more about the benefits of cordless window coverings for your home. So it's almost just like having a conversation with that particular thing. Now it is using the web to find all the information. So you definitely have to proofread it, right? Because it might not be 100% accurate. It's just using the information that it can find to learn about it. But then, here's the example. It's just kind of jamming out some great ideas. So even if, as this thing goes through and creates this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even if you just took those 5 things and turned that into a blog post and then wrote the rest of it afterwards on your own, so convenience, and then you wrote some stuff about it on your own, safety, it still gave you a fantastic foundation, right, for creating that content without sitting down at a desk and being like, okay, what should I write about? So pretty cool tool. And obviously there's more, so I'm going to hit stop here. But it'll just keep on going. The other thing that this does, it doesn't look like it's working on the left now, but typically it'll actually have a history of every interaction that you've had. So you can go back through, as you continue to have a conversation with the AI, you can go back and reference past conversations. You can go back and use some of that information as you're creating a blog, things of that sort as well. So. All right. Enough about AI. It's crazy and getting crazier, I think. Yeah, but the trick here really is just make sure that you're editing it at the least. So, all right. Right. Awesome headline. So a headline really is a promise, as I mentioned earlier. It's a promise that whatever is in this particular article is going to be about what I just promised about. So the headlines need to be really good. There's typically 3 types of headlines. There's one called social proof or piggybacking on something else. And then there's threat and gain headlines. Excuse me. So example of social proof or piggybacking, why I use olive oil and you should too, right? It's like, oh yeah, why should I? So obviously the article then would have to be about the health benefits of using it, blah, 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 right? What doctor eats for a midnight snack. So in this case, I'm piggybacking off Dr. Oz being popular and well-known. What does he use for a midnight snack? The new Roman shade everybody is ordering is an example. Oh, why is everybody ordering this particular thing? What's so cool about it? Threat headlines. Sorry, I lied to you. That's a great one. That's also a fantastic newsletter subject line, assuming that the content therein addresses that issue. Is your deck harmful to your health? So this was a kind of a play on getting an awning to stay out of the direct sunlight, the sunbeams, that kind of stuff. So another great way to do it. 7 or some sort of number of something that you won't believe is real. So lots of different ways that you could go about the threat. And then the obvious on the other side of this is the gain side. How I hang out by the pool every day without getting a sunburn, again, referencing some sort of an awning. Create gorgeous holiday feast on $30. Oh my gosh, $30. How am I going to do that? So there's this gain in their head that if they read this article, they're going to gain something by the end of it. So anyway, those are a couple different ideas. So let's jump over to social media. I don't want to go too long for you guys, but there's really 2 parts of social media, right? There is the organic, or you posting on your Facebook page, things of that sort that you're just creating more awareness for your business. And then there's the paid side, which most people know about, like Facebook ads, right? Doing ads to drive more conversations, to get in front of those people. When those 2 work together, you're in a fantastic spot. So both of those really need to be done in order to gain one or the other. And then there's also something called the mere exposure effect, which is, basically effect where an audience is more likely to trust something because it's familiar, right? It's familiar to them, or they've been exposed to it. And it's just the fact that they were exposed to it in the past because you had posted it on social, that now they feel like it's more familiar and they're going to then pay a little bit more attention to it. So kind of interesting how that works. So I did ask our social media team to toss a couple ideas to us of things that you can do from the social media side to really start to build out the social media outreach for your business. So find and define your target market. Definitely number one. And I'm glad they put that as number one. It's fantastic. You have to know who you're talking to. And we do have training specifically on this on our website around finding your target market, defining who those people are, that kind of stuff. I even have an avatar worksheet that I'll send out as part of the follow-up to this workshop, where you can go through and say, okay, who is my actual target market? Once you know who they are, then you just have to become that bridge that helps them. Okay, here's who they are. Here's the problem that they have. Here is how to solve that problem, and become that bridge between those 2 things. So that's a huge piece. And then, of course, get on the platforms that they're using, right? There's no sense in posting things on Twitter, like I said earlier, if your audience isn't on Twitter, right? So you could have the right audience, you could have the right message, but the wrong place to put it. So all 3 of those have to be put together. We call that the market, the media, and the message. So all of those need to match up to who that is, who your target audience is and where they're at. So some really cool post rules too that they sent over. The 721 formula. 70% of your content should be around adding value to the person reading it or the customer at the other end. 20% could be emotional. So for example, your core values, something that shows the emotional side of your company. If you guys go to, you take puppies to the park or anything like that, right? Those are the emotional kind of stuff, things that we're doing in our community. And then only 10% should be promotional. And a lot of people switch this around, right? They're doing 70% promotional and wonder why nobody likes any of their content, because you're consistently pushing stuff to them. So really only about 10% should be promotional, upcoming sales. Here's a new product that we have. If you did a video, you could upload that video, that kind of stuff. But really the idea here is to build value for your customers. There are a lot of scheduling tools out there. Buffer, Hootsuite, probably some of the most well-known, Social Pilot. There are a lot of these different tools out there. We also have our own tool that our clients get access to, excuse me, called Social Boomerang. This is a tool where you can connect all of your different social media platforms to, and then go schedule posts, all those kinds of things. I'm actually going to show you how you can get some of that, access to some of that for free. So Mary said, this was awesome. Thanks so much. Awesome. Thank you, Mary. And Georgie said, what is an example of brand recognition? So just putting things out there consistently that as people are scrolling through Facebook looking for babies and cats, that as they see, an article or a post from you, they see your logo, they see your name as the business. And it's just, even as they're scrolling past it, that's still, your brand is kind of getting into their mind. So it's just that easy. Just putting content out there that they're seeing because they've liked you in the past or something like that. So when it comes to connecting your networks, obviously connect as many as you can. The ones that make the most sense, again, where your audience is, Pinterest, Houzz, Instagram, or some of the ones that are more like image-based, picture-based, and then get in there and start to actually schedule out the content. Another thing that we give to all of our clients is some of these tips here, some of these different graphics. We have around 200, maybe 300 graphics that we give to every one of our clients for free, that they can go schedule their own posts, and they've already got content and ideas out there that they have access to as well. So those are really cool. It makes it easy, quick way to start to share information. The last thing is on the Facebook ad side, you do have to have access to their business suite, and they changed this so much. Currently, it's called Meta Business Suite. It might be called something different next week, but for now, that's what it is. So it's business.facebook.com. Even if you have a Facebook page, you still need to go sign up for this. And this is where you would create your ad network. You would put in your billing information. All the stuff related to your business is in here. So business.facebook.com is where you would start from that side, and really kind of letting them know everything related to your business. And obviously connecting your Facebook page. If you have a Facebook group related to your business or something like that, all of those could be connected to that as well. All right, so let's review a couple things. Define your categories. Those are going to be pretty easy. Pick the content type. So you've got text, video, images, and audio are really the four big ones. So pick those, find somebody to help you create the content if you can't do it yourself, and then start to build a foundation around times. How often are we going to do this? What platforms are we going to do it on? Those sorts of things as well. Liz said using your brand colors on your social media may also increase brand recognition, right? So yeah, using your logo over and over, and as you create content and images that they match those colors, those sorts of things as well. Great point, Liz. Thank you. Come up with topic ideas. There's a lot of places to come up with topic ideas. Write some awesome headlines. And don't forget to share everything out on the different platforms as well. I'm curious about AI here. Okay, so it stopped. It stopped after number 4 here. I guess when I abandoned the screen, it stopped doing stuff. But I could ask it to continue on that same thing as well, or you can get new stuff as well. So, all right, now what? So what do we do now that we have this information? Well, obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, start creating content. It really is one of the best things you can do. Start creating content, assuming you have a website or you have a Facebook page, things like that. Just start creating some different content, whether that's a blog post or a how-to video or something along those lines. Just get started, I think. This is a screenshot of one of our clients who started creating content. We built them a site, and then they started putting content on that site. So the yellow line here is organic pages over time. And, as they continue to create more pages or more content on their site, this is the keywords that they're ranking for along that same time frame. So you can see that, there is a direct correlation to creating more content equals more potential organic keywords that you're going to rank for. The other thing I did want to point out here is you'll notice this gap here in the orange from time they started creating content to the time they started getting traffic. So there is a delay, right? Google isn't just going to rank you number one right out of the gate. So there is a time frame there from the time you start creating content to the time you start reaping benefits from that. But you have to be consistent and keep that upward trend as time goes on. And then you'll see that Google will start to serve more and more people your information. So, all right. I did mention earlier about Social Boomerang. If anybody wants access to this, you can shoot this QR code. And again, if you can't do that right now, that's fine. I'll share this link later. We do have this tool, Social Boomerang, absolutely free for people in our industry, where you can get out there and you can connect your social media networks to it. And then you can schedule posts, things of that sort, all for no cost. And there are different things that you can do with that. So Janie said, thanks. I have to run another meeting. Love to have a discovery call. Janie, we will be hooking you up with that as well. So thank you for joining today. Image sizes. I did mention this earlier. These are the sizes as of January 2023, and they change. These platforms are always changing what their kind of default sizes are. So these are the numbers here. We did upload this as a PDF or sorry, a PNG file. So if you want a copy of this, you can grab it from that QR code as well. And again, I will share all this afterwards. And lastly, if you do not have my book, make sure to grab a copy of that, wtmarketingpros.com/book, shoot the QR code and give me your address and I will drop one in the mail to you. Really appreciate everybody jumping on today. If there's anything else I can do for you, please let us know. I appreciate you jumping in, adding questions as time went on. And hopefully I was able to answer all of those for you. If we have not talked and you want to have some sort of a discovery call, please let's do so. wtmarketingpros.com/strategy is where we would do. That's where you can pick a time on my calendar and we'll get started. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. I do appreciate your time. Hope you have a great day and take care, everybody. See ya. Bye.